Greetings, Earthlings. Here we are at 3619 South Leavitt, just off Archer Avenue, here in McKinley Park. And we're here to talk about this, the Faith Methodist Episcopal Church Cookbook. Don't have a date on this, but we've got sort of a casual dedication from FDR's wife, which will put it somewhere between 1933 and 1945. So let's split the difference and say 1940. Very old cookbook. Found some very interesting things about some of the cooks, and I figured, as usual, let's wander around the neighborhood, take a look at the ads from these long gone businesses, see what's there today, and try not to get into too much trouble. No promises there. 1751, 1759 West 35th Street, way back in the day, home to Andelson's Department Store. Get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And Mr. Wilbur J. Connell. Found some interesting history here. In 1940, the owners of Andelson Department Store were Anna and Aaron Gumbinger, Aaron being from Texas. They lived at 4846 South Drexel. But by 1949, in this newspaper article describing how thieves busted in through the roof to steal some stuff, it mentions Anna as the sole owner. As for Mr. Wilbur J. Connell, found an obituary for his wife in 1911, and that was backed up by the census, showing that he was indeed remarried. He lived over at 3443 South Wood in 1950, and he was born way up north in Wisconsin. 1955 West 35th Street, Damon and 35th, currently the home to a Shell station, previously the home to R.P. Hirschboak Shoes. That'd be Roman Hirschboak, hope I'm saying that correctly. This guy was actually born in America. I was sure he'd be Dutch. In 1940, he was living on the premises, 37 years old, selling his shoes along with his family and his Swiss father-in-law. But 10 years later, in 1950, I found the guy living at 1206 West Wilson, way up on the north side, running a restaurant. I was sure it was a different guy, but his spouse's name checks out. I guess the shoe business isn't all it's cracked up to be sometimes. 2022 West 35th, just the other side of Damon, Chile, Torrado. Back in 1940, it was the home of Charles J. Mossberg's tailoring business. In 1940, he was 72 years old and lived just around the corner at 2302 35th Place. And he was showing up as widowed and a lodger. He was actually paying rent to stay in a spare bedroom or something along those lines. Hard times for Charles J. Mossberg. I'm with my friend Jaime, the owner here. He's in the building at 2022 35th Street, and I was telling him about this. Used to be Charles Mossberg, a tailor, old man. He lived one block away. And what do you have to say today, Jaime?
Well, I say thank you very much, everyone. See this video. I hope to see you guys back. Remember, Chile Toreado is for everyone. Thank you.
The best on 35th Street. The best in Chicago. Come on, let's be serious.
Exactly, yeah. It's the best in Chicago. Mexican food, 100% authentic.
Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you.
Be well, my friend. Today's recipe, salmon casserole, comes to us from the mysteriously credited Mrs. Gattenby. My research reveals that this is Olga Gattenby, born in Switzerland and married to Mr. Andrew W. Gattenby. Andrew Gattenby was the president of Marquette Bank, which has a location to this day right in McKinley Park on 35th Street. He was not only a lawyer, but also a partner in a law firm, Litzinger, Gattenby, and Spuller. In 1951, we find a brief mention of him endorsing an alderman in an election for the 19th Ward as part of the Independent Citizens Committee. In 1940, they were living at 33rd and Western, right there in McKinley Park. But by 1950, they had moved way the hell out to 2144 East 116th Street in West Pullman. One of the big clues that helped me learn more about who Mrs. Gattenby was their brief credit as part of the Cookbook Committee. It's time for the salmon and corn casserole, which is a bit soupy. But that's gonna happen when you have no form of binder whatsoever in your recipe. I really mulled this one over. I looked at many other modern recipes for something similar: salmon casserole, salmon and corn casserole. Everything used potatoes, eggs, cheese. I didn't see a recipe for it, but I considered making a bechamel to bind it all together. So it becomes a question of, is the recipe wrong, or is this what was intended? If this is what was intended, then I want to recreate it in the correct way. If it's a typo, then I have to guess what was intended, or just use my own cooking intelligence. I think I'm about to eat a dish of salmon and corn with a little bit of cream, and let's see what we get. A casserole has to have some kind of glue. This doesn't have any. This doesn't have any glue. The pop of the corn is interesting. The cream got excessively runny. I'd swear it was skim milk, looking at it now. I've done a lot of old cookbook recipes at this point. I don't know if this is a failure, but maybe it's edging towards that end of the spectrum. And if so, at least it tastes good. And 1 out of 10 or however many I've done ain't bad. 2025. I'm looking for 2023. Doesn't seem to exist. Either way, somewhere right around here, Sealy and 35th, previously the home to the Southwest Meat Market. Had a couple Czech butchers in there. Charles Prucha in 1940 lived at 5654 South Albany, 36 years old, born in, at that time, Czechoslovakia. His partner, Mr. Caesar, actually lived here on the premises. He was 45 years old. His wife also shows up on the census as an employee, and they were also from Czechoslovakia, today the Czech Republic. 2106, currently the home of a State Farm office, previously the home to another butcher, Kotick's Beef. In 1940, Mr. Kotick was living on the premises, 39 years old, along with his wife, who also lived here. Got to stay out here cutting that meat, prepping that meat. You want to make money, it's the only way. And just across the street at 3517 Archer, currently the home to Marquette Bank. Money has been exchanging hands here for a number of years. Once upon a time, somewhere in this parking lot or building was Mr. J.W. Pfeiffer. Real estate, but over the years I found evidence of him also running a currency exchange and even opening a bank. So I got to think that Marquette Bank was partially his doing. He was born in approximately 1850. His son Walter was born in 1892. He seemed to be running the business, and he lived just around the corner, right near the church at 3640 South Levitt. Shout out to the Pfeiffer family, keeping the money alive in McKinley Park for 100 years. Over here at Levitt and Archer, at the 35th Archer bus station, as well as the Orange Line stop. This giant piece of property, no doubt, was home to a number of businesses back in the day, specifically John Bignane and Sons, 3596 Archer, which no longer exists. In 1950, the place caught on fire. Not shocking when the building's filled with flammables like coal. In 1963, they were pulling some power moves, acquiring another business to grow the coal empire. In 1940, Mr. Bignane was living at 3329 Southwestern, 50 years old. His son, John Jr., was also living with him and also working with Dad. Shoveling that coal, hard work, but it sounds like they're making quite a bit of money. Shout out to the Bignane family. And what do I find right across the street? We've got this little memorial, and you look closely at the bottom. How amazing is this? Thanks to the Bignane family for this site. This site has been abandoned since 2007, according to Google Maps Street View. Once upon a time, it was home to McKinley Florist. I did find this ad from 1950, but otherwise, not a lot going on here. Today's dessert of caramel custard pudding comes to us from a Mrs. W.C. Bloomquist. That would be Judith Bloomquist, the wife of William Claudius. William was born in Sweden, Judith in Illinois, but the Bloomquists were actually not members of the parish in McKinley Park. Yet numerous recipes are attributed to not only Judith, but also their daughter Inez and their son Paul. Why, you ask? Because W.C. was the head of the Methodist Episcopalian Church for the entire city of Chicago. They were actually Northsiders. They lived in the historically Swedish neighborhood of Andersonville, around Ashland and Winona. Just 2 blocks south at Winnemac Avenue was the Bethany Swedish Methodist Church, where Mr. Bloomquist was a minister. That church no longer exists, but the legacy lives on with the Methodist Hospital standing at that corner.
There we go.
Oh yeah, I see movement.
No, she's bored. Leave her be.
Come on.
0. Okay. Now, show me Uncle. Who's first? Uncle Mike is
beautiful.
first. It's
Vanilla beans.
Okay. Yeah. But they're black.
But it looks like dirt. Just being able to see the cross section now is nice because we stressed, is it undercooked, is it overcooked, and poked at it and shook it, and how much does it wobble? It's wobbling too much. It's not wobbling enough. No, we overdid it. What do we do?
It was very exciting.
It was.
Bake in a moderate oven.
No temperature, no time.
Yeah, no temperature, no time.
Yep.
I decided moderate is 350. Maybe all the little old ladies knew how to make it. It was just that her recipe or something, she felt it was special enough. Make my recipe, but you already know how to do it.
Well, kids, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this cold Sunday adventure. Up and down 35th Street, out and about in McKinley Park. Get yourself a hold of an old cookbook. Take it some kind of relic from the past. Take a closer look at it. Pay respect, pay tribute to a legend in your city, in your neighborhood today. Thanks for watching.